In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10-4-6 PL 1975 231 S1 amended 2006 C70 S2, the Asbury Park Board of Education has provided adequate notice of this meeting by sending a notice of the time, date, location, and to the extent known, the agenda of this meeting to the Asbury Park Coaster on January 8th, 2021 via email. Copies of this notice have also been placed at the Administration Building Bulletin Board, District Schools, Asbury Park Municipal Building, Asbury Park Police Department, and filed with the City Clerk on January 8th, 2021. The Asbury Park School District will provide all students with a comprehensive and progressive education where everyone possesses the skills and character to succeed in a diverse, evolving global society. Roll call, please, Mr. Hastings.
Thank you. Madam President, Ms. Alves Anderson?
Here.
Ms. Breach? Here. Ms. Cook?
Here.
Mr. Grillo?
Here.
Mr. LaRocca?
Here.
Mr. Remy? Mr. Saunders? Ms. Lozinski?
Here.
Ms. Etienne?
I am here. Can we please stand for the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Cook, are you ready for your committee report?
Good evening, everyone. So we need a recommended board approval for the Intro for Science 5K, the Science Dimensions 5th and 8th equipment and science kits, which include safety equipment. Total cost of $35,722.22. Also recommended board approval for the renewal of teaching strategies professional development related to mandatory preschool curriculum, creative curriculum. All staff assigned to the pre-K program will be engaged in a series of professional development opportunities throughout the duration of the school year 2021-2022 that aligns to the preschool implementation guidelines and exceptions. Professional development will be provided for preschool staff at the Thurgood Marshall and Bradley Elementary, as well as three consortium schools alphabets, a little class in Asbury, a total cost of $26,100. And lastly, the approval for the Lake House Music Academy to approve music programs to Asbury Park School Districts for school years 2021-2022. The program includes the performance group in which students create a performance materials using smartphones and device applications that allow for video and audio recording. Lake House will also work with our Dream Academy students in instrumental and technical music creation program. Total cost of $27,000. That's all.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
During the curriculum meeting, we had talked about how with Lake House Music Academy, we'd like to start seeing at some point kind of annual reports back from them to make sure that certain goals are met, or to see what metrics are in place with the music instruction that they do. I realize that it's that it is enrichment, but at the same time, every year we seem to just automatically approve the money, and I think it's time that we start to see kind of what the results are. I also think it would be pretty entertaining to see this, like, even if they do a presentation, to see what the students themselves have done, and to make sure that there are actually real concrete outcomes and outputs from our partnership with Lake House, which I think it's been around, our partnership with Lake House has been for what, 5 years now, 5 or 6 years? Have they ever kind of come back to say that there are things
Yeah,
being
yeah,
done?
they've actually done a couple shows here, a couple years ago. Last year was kind of, nothing, but they've actually performed here, 2 or 3 years ago with their students, which was phenomenal. So, I mean, they have come back and shown what they've done.
Yeah, I mean, what I want to see is, I mean, the performance can be part of it, but I think actually having a presentation from Lake House to say, this is how many students, we worked with. This is where they were when they started, with us. This is where they are now, and to kind of see what progression there is going on with them. So I think it's super important, and especially if they're going to be working with our Dream Academy students with instrumental and technology music creation. That's something that we want to see. What have they learned? So
I think to Joe's point, I think we should be reviewing everything that we spend money on, and not once a year, maybe twice a year, because by the end of that year, it's time to renew them again. So if we want to make any corrections or additions, if we're only doing it once a year, it's kind of late. Additionally, I just wanted to ask about the pre-K program. I knew that Dr. Adams, I'm sorry. I don't know if you were aware that they are Grow and J, our pre-K, the two that we have now, Bradley and Thurgood were Grow and J 5-star programs, but they were supposed to re-certify. I don't know if that was done. Do you know if that was done?
Yes, we're in the process of, we're only waiting. The only thing we're waiting for now is the site visit. Everything else, we're still at the 5-star rating. And the only thing left.
So
right
you have the
now-
provisional 5-star, because I know they were
Yes.
doing provisional.
And the only thing missing is them coming to visit the site, which they couldn't do during COVID, which they will do during this school.
Yeah, they haven't opened it up yet.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah.
So we're right where we need to be.
Okay.
Yep.
So can we do something? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matt. So can we either amend that particular item to include some sort of report back to the board, or is this something that we would have to do on a separate vote?
Joe, I think that what the board president was saying is that that should be a regular occurrence, updating the board on certain programs and stuff to make sure that, just to see what's going on and for the following year if we're going to re-up a contract.
Right.
And I thought that Mr. Reeves was going to come back to us about something after that.
Yeah, I'm set up a meeting with them for next week and to discuss exactly that. So that way we'll have some things to present to all of you.
But to my point also, Joe, what we discussed, I think a while ago, is almost everything that's introduced. Like, we need to be reviewing the clubs to make sure that they're being attended regularly. Like, anything that we're spending extra money on, we need to be reviewing to make sure that we're spending our money wisely. So if we can, I guess, kind of discuss what that looks like what kind of matrix we're going to use to measure, how often it is, that's a whole big discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert on matrices, but I think that's where the administrators come into play to figure out what that's going to look like.
All I know is the word.
Yeah, that's it. I just know the movie. So I think that's super important.
If I can, just there's no problem with that to the extent that if it is an instructional program, the expectation is that through the superintendent, we would have reports out on progress and things like that. But for non-instructional type, events and extracurriculars, certainly there's no restriction on it. But I just want to caution the board that to the extent we're talking about instructional programming, we're going to look to the superintendent and the administration to essentially provide us with the metrics and progress reporting, et cetera.
If I may just add, there is a board policy about extracurricular and clubs that, there's at the end of the year, there should be a summary about whether they've been successful or not, or whether to continue in the following year, just to update that.
And just to add, I would, especially with the clubs, I would like representation of a club member, like a student. to kind of come in and, no, not the student that's on the board, but each club to maybe have a student come like once a year for them to kind of tell us how they're enjoying it, what's going on, or they can report it to Dr. Adams and Dr. Adams can report it to us. But I would like to not only know from the teachers and the instructors, but from the students that are attending the programs. Because maybe there's changes that could be made that they know, but they're not getting asked.
We want to make sure that this doesn't become like a cumbersome thing, especially when it's like manga club or something like that. But I get it.
Like, it could be simplified. I mean, if it's starting off, it might be cumbersome because anything that you're just starting. But I know that when people are attending things, there's sometimes that they see something that the instructors are not seeing because they're in it.
Madam President, that is part of the evaluation process of all academic programs in terms of getting student input, survey information. That's also part of the debriefing in terms of presentations to the board related to the programming. So as we look at student services and extracurricular activities and partnerships with such like Lake House, those are part of the debriefing that we would update the board on from the respective departments. So that is one of the things in terms of the reporting out throughout the year and updating the board in relationship to our renewals, contract renewals that will be happening. So I just want to kind of, put that out there in terms of making sure that student participation and student voice is an intricate part of that evaluation process that the respective schools and the respective directors do take when renewing or non-renewing those partnerships.
Are you saying that that's going to happen moving forward? Because when we were on the board and ROTC went down, we didn't even know until it was done.
As long as I'm sitting in this seat, that will happen.
Okay. So, no, I mean, if it's moving forward, then absolutely.
I can only speak while I'm
okay.
I just wanted to say one other thing about Lake House. This is in no way like a criticism on Lake House because they're so ingrained in the community and they do so much good work. So I want to just make sure that folks know that, they do incredible stuff as someone who, was a customer of theirs in the past. So it would just be nice to have those updates from them. So that's all.
Okie dokie, thank you. Mr. LaRocca?
With regard to the Finance Committee, our first agenda point, the ESSER funding, American Rescue Plan, the federal dollars. So with regard to ESSER 2, we've been substantially approved. That's $7 million. $4 million of that is going for the various projects, HVAC work, as you see in the minutes, for Bradley Elementary School and Thurgood Marshall. What we want to do is move ahead with, do we have the contract for the architect? We talked about moving ahead with paying the architect to get started. The concern is there's going to be, with federal dollars everywhere, there's going to be a big demand, and we anticipate many districts will be looking at ventilation issues similar to what we have in terms of upgrading.
Yes, that's correct. And there's also, since we're spending federal dollars, different procurement regulations that we need to follow that are slightly different from the state regulations. So we have to look at those as well as we move forward. But yes, we'd like to get on into that line as quickly as possible for HVAC equipment and improvements that are going to be made.
And ESSER 3, we've been allocated $15 million. We anticipate somewhere around late November getting those budget guidelines with regard to how that's going to work. Second point about partnerships, foundation, booster clubs. I think this was also discussed, buildings and grounds, and they can, Anthony can make mention of that. We discussed maybe really limiting anything we might do. Obviously, we're very interested in grant funding or foundation support, but also a question of, in our committee, that we drive what we're going for and whether we at the time we're going for a particular grant, look at partners at that time rather than an overall partner to somehow take the lead in writing grants. Central office relocation, also with buildings and grounds, as we have a timeline, repurpose Obama, we really felt that it's going to be an additional 2-year lease that we would recommend on the current administration building. And that would be, according to the landlord, they responded to administration a 1.5% increase per year for a 2-year lease extension. The APASA negotiations, we have reached agreement. Administration reviewed their salary guides. It went back to them for a modification in light of the ceiling we set for the increase. We have not yet received that modification, so we anticipate ratifying in August, getting that information with regard to the salary guide. Also looking at Asbury Park High School Stadium and looking at this in terms of multi-phase plan for repairs so that we can do improvements that will fit within our budget. That issue and another that might have been covered in buildings and grounds, there were some concerns expressed regarding the A7FL use of the stadium. That is the full contact football league with no equipment. And there were some issues about the behavior of fans. So it may be something we as a board want to consider if they want to use the stadium again next year, whether be aware of that and whether anything from requiring additional security or other aspects that we might want to make unique to the contract with this group, as it seems that the events are becoming much more popular and there are crowd issues. That was it for finance.
Can I mention?
Sure.
Can I mention the football league? Granted, we requested additional officers to be there. They weren't available on Sunday. However, I know there were not any major incidences during that football tournament. Crowd control might be something we look at in the future, but as far as anything like major that we have to be concerned with, it didn't happen. But I think, going forward, as we did in the past, that yes, that might be something we need to look at. But just so you know, this year, there weren't anything major. So add that.
Are there any additional questions or comments?
Yes, I do. I have a question on number 3, the central office location. Now, this is a lease, is it the lease purchase that we had discussed prior to, or is this just leasing?
No, this would just be a lease for 2 years at a 1.5% increase per year.
So we're not going to consider purchasing?
That wasn't an agenda item that came up.
I have a question about that. Because I
Well,
know
wouldn't
that
that
was
be
discussed.
wouldn't that be a contract issue that if we're going to discuss it, would be an executive session?
Well, I suppose so, but I would like to get an answer on that.
So I believe the conversation that we had, the criteria was met in terms of options.
It is an option. You know what? We'll talk about it later. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Remy?
I was just gonna say that that was actually mentioned in the Buildings and Grounds meeting, and we were gonna elaborate on that and actually. Oh, it did. Oh, okay. All right. Thanks, Jeff. All right.
Okay, you can keep your mic on.
Okay.
I didn't hear what you said, Mr. Remy.
No, I was just saying that it was actually mentioned in the Buildings and Grounds meeting, and we were gonna ask on for the full board on the vote on how we should move forward with that. Yeah. No problem.
Mr. Remy, you can go.
So you went through all 4 topics that we discussed?
Sure, would you like me to touch on those? or
No,
you're,
just saying,
I would think the first one we just talked about, so.
yeah. We discussed about the partnerships and item number 3. Okay. And also I wanted to mention the naming of the fields as well. The Bradley School field, the field right here, the soccer field, after Mula Lewis, soccer player, Haitian soccer player from Asbury Park, and also the middle school field, named after James Farmalara.
So, Mr. Remy, we did send out the bios of both of those gentlemen to the board, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think after we last discussed that matter, as well as the policy and in the process that we need to do to consider that.
Okay. All right, cool. And also, back against number 3, how do you guys, I guess, should I ask that here? How do you guys want to proceed? Do we want to get a third party to help, revamp the middle school in Barack Obama, those locations, and the high school as well?
Mr. Remy, I understood that what the committee is going to do is narrow it down to 1 or 2 projects. That's what I understood from your minutes.
Yeah.
So I think you, as a committee, should meet and, as a committee, recommend it to the board of which project that you would like to proceed with. And
That was actually what we're,
because all I got.
yeah. That's actually what we're supposed to be discussing today.
So then the next procedure would be to write up a proposal.
Okay.
Already, we just wanted to. Before he moved forward, we wanted to bring it to the whole board. We didn't want to act as a committee, have the attorney write it up before we talk to all you guys.
So could you narrow it down to 1 project? Which one would be more important to you, or to the committee? Which one?
2. We were thinking about starting off with 2.
Those are awfully large projects.
Excuse me?
Well, I know the stadium is immediate, but so is Obama. So
Yeah. The stadium was number 1. And then number 2 would be the Barack Obama.
So what are you suggesting, that there be some sort of, I guess, proposal of what the board would approve to go out for competitive bid?
Correct.
Okay, so something would have to be drawn up first for the board to agree to.
If I can just jump in for a moment, I think the best way to handle this would be if we've identified, we'll call it priority 1 project. From there, we should look at what the committee and the board feels in terms of the scope of work that's to be done, the specifications of the work that's supposed to be done or want to be done. And then from there, once we have all of that information, my office will be able to put together some specifications for a bid, essentially. So it's great that we've identified the what I'll call the first project, but now we need to drill down within that project what exactly the board would like to have happen in terms of repairs and scope of the project. And then from there, we'll be able to kind of develop the specs, if you will, for then the public to bid on, review and bid on.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Are there any questions or additional comments?
Yeah, I looked up the policy for naming facilities, and just to clarify, that all it needs is direct action from the board. There were a few people that had asked me in the community whether it was, they had to do petitions and all this stuff. But no, it's just direct action from the board, so they just have to put it up for a motion and then vote.
Wouldn't, can I just add to that? Wouldn't it be good to see how the public feels about it too? You know, we don't want to be accused of acting.
Is that what we've done that?
We've done it in the past. I'm
It
trying to
actually
think.
came from the public.
We do that for naming the stadium.
I'm trying to think
I don't
of
think
how.
that we did.
Maybe not. Okay.
This actually came from the public and
Oh, okay.
many different parties.
Okay.
So that's why I brought it to the board. Yeah, so the public's behind it.
So may I ask a question? And the names again, one is Familaro. Hey, Kenneth. Okay, and you. And what was the name of the other?
Mueller Lewis.
I'm sorry?
Mueller Lewis.
Okay. Thank you.
He was a Haitian from Asbury Park, went through Asbury Park
Yes.
High School, great soccer player, did a lot, inspired us other Haitians, especially me, to be in the position I'm in right now. So,
And this is for the soccer field at Bradley.
correct.
Okay, and the
Right.
Familaro?
The middle school.
The middle school, okay. So are we making a motion?
We're in a work session right now.
We'll make a motion for that at the 7 o'clock?
Okay. All right, cool.
Mr. Gavillo?
Yes. For the policy committee, everything was second reading. We didn't have a meeting because it was basically the same stuff. One of the things that I did want to highlight was the bridge year policy, and I think it's a pretty interesting policy to kind of read over and see when a student wants to do a bridge year and kind of the different steps that they have to take and everything. But
What is that?
the bridge year is, and of course, I just had it in my laptop just went on the fritz. So basically, a bridge year is, and correct me if I'm using the wrong language, Jeff. If someone, especially because of COVID, goes on for like that fifth year, right? And kind of what that entails, what are the regulations behind it, and kind of what are the different outcomes that come out of that, you know. And also says, and the policy states how they would, they're allowed to graduate with their fourth year class, or the next one, the bridge year class, which would be like the fifth year. The thing that makes this important is, especially during the past year that we've had, we all know about the summer slide. Now imagine the pandemic slide. So a lot of the students will take that fifth year to kind of make sure that they've caught up and all that. So I think it's a pretty great policy and a very interesting read. And then some of the other policies was about evaluation of superintendents and that kind of stuff. The bridge year is a pilot program, so it's kind of a new thing, and that's all I got.
The bridge year, is it voluntary, or is it because they don't meet the criteria to wrap up in their fourth
I believe
year?
it's voluntary, according to it. It says let's see. All public school districts that enroll high school students must offer eligible students the opportunity to participate in the bridge year pilot program. And then it's up to the student to notify the high schools. I guess we're going to need to have a bridge year liaison of their intent to participate. So a lot of this is more about the policy of what the schools have to do and what the liaison has to do. But to be eligible, you have to be in the graduating class of either 2021 or 2022. You have to meet all the applicable high school graduation requirements by the end of senior year. You need to be 19 years or younger during the entirety of the bridge year. If someone turns 20 during the end of the bridge year, they're not eligible to participate. And they have to maintain a grade point average of 2.0 during that bridge year. There's also some language about students with disabilities who receive special education and related services under IDEA, and they must be granted the opportunity to also participate in the Bridge Year pilot program. And then it also talks about academics and the implementing of goals for the Bridge Year for each student. And that includes academic support, coursework, co-curricular, and athletic participation.
I just have a question regarding the cost of this to the district. And if it's a special, somebody who has needs that are different, they need like a IEP or whatever, the additional expense that it's going to be. Not that I want to hold anything back, but just so the board knows that we're going to have to, there's extra expenses. Is this a mandated policy?
This is I believe it's a mandated policy, right, Jeff? Yep.
Yes, it is.
So it's a mandated policy without any additional funding. That's all. That's just a question I had.
What was that?
Unfunded mandate, yeah.
Unfunded mandate.
I know we're supposed to get more funding.
Well, I would think that those students would go into our ASSA account and then be incorporated into the formula, as calculated for state aid. But we'll have to look into that to see.
No, I'm just
if it's
thinking,
excluded or
just so for next year, that's included in the, how the budget's gonna work out and stuff, so that's all.
Okie dokie, Ms. Breach?
Okay, we spoke about homecoming this year. I think I touched on it at the last meeting. Because of our scheduling, homecoming is going to be very early this year, September 24th. We're still, we're working as of right now to try to get things set up as far as a tent and some things to give out, and also our dinners. I don't want to put it official yet because we've always in the past, since I've been there, had an honorary captain from one of the alumni years, and since we didn't have one last year, we were looking at to honor somebody from the 50th class from last year. It's not confirmed yet. I'm still trying to make that happen. That person is a graduate of Asbury Park High School, worked in the district for many years. Hopefully next meeting we'll be able to solidify that. Also, our winter coaches have been posted. We have our media day for our fall sports, which is scheduled for August 18th, starting at 11 a.m. If anybody would like to come, all fall sports are going to be there to have their photos taken. And we've also posted our fall and winter coaches for this year. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Ms. Breach. Are there any questions or comments at this time? No? Okay, well, that wraps up committee. Yes, please.
As the board knows that's involved in the superintendent's search, we were going to get a statement from, to put out reference to a search update. And I know all the board members on the committee did receive it through an email. So I just wanted to read it real quick. As many of you know, Dr. Sancha Gray resigned her position of superintendent of schools on June 30th, 2021. The Asbury Park Board of Education has entered into contract with New Jersey School Boards Association to facilitate the search process for a new superintendent of schools. Our New Jersey School Boards Association search consultant, Kathy Weinkoff, has developed 4 SurveyMonkey tools to help in gathering community input from residents in Asbury Park, as well as administrators and staff input from our school and from our Spanish and Haitian Creole-speaking community members. The information gathered will be used to shape a variety of candidate review documents and interview questions. All input is anonymous, and no email or identifiable information is needed to complete the surveys. All data provided in the surveys will go first to New Jersey school boards and will be provided to the Board of Education to assist them in selection of the candidates to interview, development of interview questions, and select the finalists. The links to the survey are already posted on the website and will also be emailed to staff and community. These surveys will be live and accessible through Monday, August 16th, 2021, and we hope everybody participates. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we want to open up the floor to public participation in accordance to the Open Public Meeting Act. If you have a comment or a question, please come up to the mic, state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Mr. Brannigan, do we have anybody on the WebEx? No. We have no emails and nobody on WebEx asking questions.
Jeff, what was the email address?
It's public comment at asburypark.k12.nj.us.
Okay, at this time, we're going to be closing public participation. So we're going to have review of regular agenda items. Dr. Adams, if you please.
Should we go through them to ask if there's any questions or anything like that?
All right. Are there any questions on any of the items? B1 through B1, B2, B3, B4.
I just wanted to ask about B4, we're going to discuss an exec before we vote?
Yes, we will.
Thank
There are-
you. Mhm.
B5. Any questions?
No questions at this time? Okay, thank you, Dr. Adams. Mr. Hastings?
Thank you, Madam President. Be happy to take any questions on items from C1 through C5. I'd like to note on page C4, item 13, we need to make a correction there. Item 13 is the use of facilities, and you can see there the custodial fees of $1,035 are included. However, the event is taking place when our staff is normally on duty, so those fees should be zero. So that third line should read rental fees of $650. So $650 is the fee that's asking to be waived for that particular event. And then I would also note on page C.
I didn't hear where you were.
Page C4. Number 13 on the bottom.
Right there.
So on that second line towards the end there, you'll see custodial fees of $1,035. That is actually zero because we have staff on site.
Okay, thank you.
So the total on line 3 is $650 that would be waived, and that's the fee for the actual facility. And then I would note the donation on page C5, number 14, from the toy drive for scholarships and bookstore credit cards for our students. I'd be happy to take any other questions.
I have for C3, number 8, I wanted to talk about that in exec before we vote. And I think it just needs to be rewritten a little bit. It's a little general. So we'll discuss it.
I'm sorry, it needs to be,
There's some editing has to be done. It's very general. I just had a question, so we can talk about that.
Thank you, Mr. Hastings. Are we gonna do, we're gonna. Okay, whereas the Open Public Meeting Act allows from exclusion from discussion at the public portion of the meeting of certain matters as outlined below, and whereas the Asbury Park Board of Education wishes to discuss such matters made and will make such discussions public when the proper conclusion has been reached. Now therefore it be resolved that the July 22nd, 2021, Asbury Park, New Jersey, for the purpose as outlined and described below, upon return, action may be taken.
And for the members of the public who are present both physically and virtually, the board is going to be entering into executive session to discuss matters related to personnel, contracting, and to receive attorney-client advice. It's anticipated that this executive session will last approximately 15 minutes or so, with the goal of starting the regular meeting at 7 p.m. Or shortly thereafter. Thank you.
May I please have a motion?
Yes, thank you.
Make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10-4-6 PL 1975, C231 S1, amended 2006, C70 S2, the Asbury Park Board of Education has provided adequate notice of this meeting by sending a notice of the time, date, location, and to the extent known, the agenda of this meeting to the Asbury Park Press and the New Coaster on January 8th, 2021 via email. Copies of this notice have also been placed at the Administration Building bulletin boards, district schools, Asbury Park Municipal Building, Asbury Park Police Department, and filed with the City Clerk on January 8th, 2021. The Asbury Park School District will provide all students with a comprehensive and progressive education where everyone possesses the skill and character to succeed in a diverse, evolving global society. Roll call, please, Mr. Hastings.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Alves Anderson? Here. Ms. Breach? Ms. Cook?
Here.
Mr. Grillo? Here. Mr. LaRocca? Here. Mr. Remy?
Here.
Mr. Saunders? Here. Ms. Lozinski? Here. Ms. Etienne?
I am here. May we please stand for the flag? Sir Superintendent, do we have any presentations? Okay.
No, we don't have any presentations this evening. However, I would like to take the moment to give some reflections in terms of our summer school. Right now, we are operating with our ESY with 47 students. Our Bradley Elementary has 81, and our Thurgood Marshall 51, and our preschool disabled has 5 students. We've also rectified the MOESC situation regarding transportation, which was not only here in Asbury Park, but also in Monmouth County. They had issues with service drivers, which impacted us in our opening of summer school. Okay. Other than that, we'd like to recognize student Carla Hernandez Reno for the bridal, coming in 3rd in the country. In our summer school, we actually posted that on our social media. And that is all.
Okay, at this time, I would like to open the floor for the open public participation part of our program.
About the search?
Okay, yes. Madam Vice President will be reading the statement first, and then we'll be opening up the floor.
This is an update from the board members that are conducting the search for a new superintendent. As many of you know that Dr. Sancha Gray resigned her position of superintendent of schools on June 30th, 2021. The Asbury Park Board of Education has entered into a contract with New Jersey School Boards Association to facilitate the search process for a new superintendent of schools. Our New Jersey School Board Association consultant is Kathy Weinkoff, has developed 4 SurveyMonkey tools to help gather community input from residents in Asbury Park, as well as administrators and staff, input from our schools, and from our Spanish and Haitian Creole speaking community members. This information gathered will be used to shape a variety of candidate review documents and interview questions. All input is anonymous, and no email or identifiable information is needed to complete the survey. All data provided in the surveys will first go to New Jersey school boards and will then be provided to the Board of Education to assist us in selecting a candidates to interview, develop interview questions, and select the finalist. The links of the survey are already posted on the district website, and they will also be mailed to staff and community. And surveys will be live and accessible through Monday, August 16th, 2021, and I hope everybody participates, or we do also. I can speak for the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. At this time, we will be opening the floor for public participation. Please come to the mic, state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Beverly Lyons of 1701 Ocean Avenue here in Asbury Park. I'm representing the statewide education committee, organizing committee, as well as a faction of residents that I live in the Asbury Towers. My question, well, first of all, greetings. It's good to see you. And thank you for your service to us in our community. And I stand once again to offer whatever I can do. I know I'm one, but I can make a difference. And I'm sure that's the mindset of those of us who are here. But I was going to ask, in regards to the superintendent search, would there be any community involvement? Is that what I heard, that there is a survey available to the public? And so we can be a part of that. Good, thank you. Also, looking at the funds that have been issued for ESSER and ARP, will there be community involvement with that? Is that a consideration? If not, we would like to say on behalf of those that I represent, if we could have that available to our community at large to be a part of the engagement of using those funds, generating accountability as well as transparency. The Amistad curriculum, according to New Jersey law, has directed all New Jersey schools to incorporate African American history into their social studies curriculum. Is that being implemented in our district? Okay, that's one. And then the last is there a plan in place to either replace or thoroughly repair our air filtering system? If it isn't, could there be a consideration for the purchasing of air filters or air cleaning units to be placed in the classrooms to ensure, healthy environment for the teachers as well as the students? So I would appreciate if I could, get a feedback on those issues that I presented to you. And once again, we're here to work with you, not against you. I know you hear a lot. We hear a lot. But I stand to say I would want to be a part of the resolve more so than the confusion. Thank you. Can anyone address those issues for me?
Thank you, Ms. Beverly.
Okay.
Jeff, would you like to address the HBC stuff?
Sure. So to two of your questions. One is the input on the ESSER funds.
Yes.
So the ESSER 3 or American Rescue Plan funds that were provided to the district, part of that plan required us to put out a survey about safe reopening, and that survey was done last month, and we received about 65 to 75 responses from parents and staff members and community members about any concerns they might have about reopening. Some of those did include HVAC systems and filtration and masks and sanitation, cleanliness, sanitizing surfaces, those sorts of things. So those are all things that we have been doing. In terms of the HVAC systems, we've been working with the district architect and engineer to allocate funds from ESSER 2 to replacing rooftop units and energy recovery units, which will enhance our HVAC system at both Bradley and the Thurgood Marshall School. The high school has been fully renovated HVAC-wise as of maybe 2 years ago, with a heating system replacement and then an air conditioning addition to the building. So that's been in place fully for about 2 years now. We are also looking at redoing all the unit vents in the classrooms, both here at Bradley and at the upper elementary Martin Luther King School. So those are all projects that are planned that'll improve our HVAC system. The maintenance of the HVAC system as it currently stands includes changing filters. You may have heard about filter types and, standards for filters and folks recommending a certain number, a MERV 13 or, something to that effect in terms of what number filter we should use. And those are the densest filters, and therefore you would think would filter out the most. Yeah. However, the equipment itself has its own limitations, and its proper function is, based on the flow of air through the system. So we use what's recommended by the manufacturer in terms of the best filtration we can get that unit will support. So that's being done, and those filters are changed, checked monthly and changed as needed, but changed fully on a quarterly basis. So the district is moving forward on all those fronts in terms of air quality and those issues.
Okay, in regards to the survey that you said there were about 65 responses, was that posted on the website?
Yes, so there was a call out similar to you would get on a snow day or one of those sorts of things. We did a mass call out to the town, advising them of the survey, and the survey link was on the front homepage of our website in both, I believe it was in all three languages. I'd have to double check, but I believe it was in all three languages.
Okay.
The mass call was to parents though in district, right?
Probably the parents, yes. And
those are the numbers that we have in our system.
Okay.
The current parents.
So the current parents received that survey versus the fact that it was not sent to the general public.
No, it wouldn't be like.
Right, so we wouldn't, so that's through a calling system or text, and we wouldn't have, for example, if you don't have a child in the district, we wouldn't have your information.
Okay.
But it was posted on the homepage and available for folks that way.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Beverly, the Survey Monkey is already posted though, so you can go onto our website for the Survey Monkey for the superintendent search.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I can mention the Amistad. We were probably at the forefront of implementing the Amistad Commission's recommendations here in the district, so they are embedded in our curriculum, not only in social studies, but in other subject areas where appropriate.
Okay, so I can view that on the website under curriculum?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Carrie Clark. I'm also from 1701 Ocean Avenue, Asbury Towers. The only question I have is the one you didn't answer of hers, and that is there Afro-American studies in the curriculum? I didn't hear an answer to that one.
He just answered it, Ms. Clark.
Okay, thank you. I guess I was wondering too, if there'd be more, if there is a curriculum that includes not only that, but more diversity, that would be like a normal thing across the board.
Yes, our curriculum is very robust in that department. We try to be very inclusive of all, not only when we talk about race, African American, but also gender studies and so forth. So we try to cover the gamut.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Clark.
I'm Patricia Jelly, also from 1701 Ocean Avenue. And we are, as many of you know, at Asbury Tower, we're a very diverse population, which is wonderful, and it really and truly helps us to come together. And we have recently started a racial relations group within Asbury Tower. And both Beverly and I we went through the curriculum, and we really and truly did not see specifically how the children, young adults, the teenagers, are able to deal with something which we know is an issue throughout our country, let alone in Asbury Tower. So, it just is very important that we see this, and we weren't able to see it. It's something certainly on the first grade level where it said to determine fairness, equality, and the common good, and how that influences new laws and policies. But we really did not see specifically, so does it depend upon the individual teacher of social studies or whatever throughout the curriculum? We look from pre-K to 12th grade, so.
I did receive your letter a while back regarding, and I will be more than happy to sit with you guys. I'm actually looking forward to meeting with you after the meeting so we can discuss some of the items that you are talking about, and I'll be happy to show you where these items reside in our curriculum.
That's great. And we do appreciate your service to the community because as a former educator, I know how extremely important, and we know how extremely important education is for, our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jelly. Jeff, do we have any emails or phone calls?
We have no emails to our public comment.
We have no phone calls.
Address. Mr. Brannigan, do we have any comments from the public on our WebEx?
Okay, at this time, we will be closing the public participation portion. We're going to.
To the residents of the Asbury Tower, first of all, I want to thank you all for your collaboration in getting together. I think this is more or less a response to some of the issues related to critical race theory that is going on around the country. New Jersey has always been at the forefront of inclusive instructional practices, and the Amistad curriculum has been something that has been the forefront in New Jersey for at least 10 to 15 years at a minimum. So that's not one of the issues that we have to confront and deal with. I think education of itself is still dealing with implicit bias, and that's something that is ongoing. We are very much aware of that in all of our practices. As Mr. Ruiz has indicated, we are always revising our curriculum, but more importantly, we are a social emotional learning district. We have Dr. Christy Morris here, who's also embedded in looking at some of microaggressions and how we deal with disciplinary standards. We're also looking at addressing the issues of suspensions of our Black students. So those are things that we are looking at addressing, rectifying, and problem solving on a regular basis. Not only in our instructional practices, but in our leadership, as well as within the board's interactions in of itself. So I do hear the root of what your concerns are related to what's going on nationally, but that is not something that we here in New Jersey have to worry about, and it's definitely not going to be legislated out of our instruction, not only here in Asbury, but throughout the state.
Thank you. Madam State Monitor, do you have a report for us? Okay, no report. We got. Okay, Mr. Remy, do you want to introduce the item that you wanted us to vote on tonight?
Yes. So the item that I asked you guys to vote on would be the naming of the fields, the Bradley Elementary School after Mueller Lewis, and the middle school field after James Familara.
May I please have a motion?
If I may, I'm not saying you need to do it this way, but if the board would like to, you can take that as two separate motions, or you could vote on it all as one. That's up to the board. But just so everyone is clear, to the extent there's a motion on the floor, it appears that the motion will be to name after both gentlemen. So a yes would be a yes to both. Just wanted to put it out there.
Okay, I understand.
Mr. Remy, could you split it up to two different motions? Just in case, somebody might want to vote yes, no, whatever,
Okay.
and not group them together?
Okay, so naming the Bradley Elementary soccer field after Mueller Lewis.
May I please have a motion?
Move it.
Okay.
Any discussion or questions? Just so the public knows, we got the materials ahead of time, so.
Can I ask a question? Just in terms of, we're naming the field after Mueller Lewis. Is that how you say his name? Is there going to be any way to any kind of explanation of his historic significance and all that at the field? Like, is there any way we can get that donated from an organization or anything? It's just so folks don't just forget or know what,
Well, I'm sure we can try to get donations to do a plaque that would kind of summarize his achievements.
Yeah.
The one thing, could you just explain a little bit? I know I read the resume. It had a couple things in it. Could you explain so that the public knows why you're suggesting that the field be?
So he went through Asbury Park School District. He's Haitian as well, as so is me. And he did a lot for the community here. He inspired. He's a business owner, has property, great soccer player, influenced a lot of us to play soccer and, go towards higher education as well. And he unfortunately passed away due to a tragic car accident. So it was brought to me from the community because there's children playing there all the time, and we thought it would be a nice thing. So I'm like, okay, sure. So I brought it up to the board, and just to so everyone could remember his name, remember the things that he did for us, the inspiration, the motivation, especially being here in America as an immigrant is very hard, and the fact that we know someone that progressed here and did a lot of good things.
He ran a couple of rec programs too for the local children. Soccer teams organized. He organized a couple of professional soccer teams for adults. He used to play there in Wall on Route 18, and then organized games here for the children.
So just wanted to honor him in that way.
So we have a motion on the floor? And a second.
Thank you, Madam President. This is for the naming of the Bradley Elementary soccer field after Mr. Lewis. Mr. Grillo?
as a son of immigrants myself, yes.
Sabez Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Breach? Ms. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. LaRocca,
Yes.
Mr. Remy,
Yes.
Mr. Saunders, Ms. Lozinski,
Yes.
Ms. Etienne.
We.
Motion carries.
Okay, and the second one, to naming the middle school field after James Familaro. He also, from Asbury Park, went through the district, did a lot for the district, the community, and that was also brought to the attention from the community, and just wanted to honor him. He also passed away due to a tragic accident. So just feel as though to, for the community to have some type of representation, remember the name, and just remember him. So want to honor him in that way. So all in favor?
No, we need a
Oh, I
motion.
can't move it. Oh, okay.
Moved by Mr. Grillo, second. Ms. Etienne.
Discussion or question? Roll call, please, Mr. Hastings.
This is for the naming of the athletic fields at the Martin Luther King Upper Elementary Field after Mr. Famularo. Mr. Grillo,
Yes.
Ms. Etienne. Ms. Abbas Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Breach, Ms. Cook,
Yes.
Mr. LaRocca,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Remy,
Yes.
Mr. Saunders, Ms. Lozinski.
I have to abstain.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Both motions passed. Good.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll be entering the board's goals into record.
It's not on the agenda. It was omitted, and I'll read it because the public doesn't have it. These are the 2021-22 Board of Education goals. We had a meeting with Kathy Weinkoff, and we developed 3 goals. 1, to successfully complete the superintendent search for the next educational leader of the school district. 2, to develop operational norms between the board and the superintendent, interim superintendent also, and an action plan to include quarterly feedback updates on educational programs and process. And then the third goal is develop and implement a plan for continuous board professional development with ongoing board training. And those are the three goals that I want to add to the agenda for a vote.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Okay, at this time, we'd like to accept the minutes.
We need a motion to accept the
Sorry,
board goals.
can I please have a second?
Mr. Grillo moved, second by Ms. Etienne.
Any questions or comments? No? Roll call, please, Mr. Hastings.
Mr. Grillo,
Yes.
Ms. Etienne. Ms. Abbas Anderson.
Yes.
Ms. Breach. Ms. Cook,
Yes.
Mr. LaRocca,
Yes.
Mr. Remy,
Yes.
Mr. Saunders, Ms. Lozinski. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Hastings. Can we have acceptance of the minutes, please?
Could I have a motion for the minutes on page A110, A through D?
I'll move it.
Questions, comments? Ms. Lozinski,
Yes.
Ms. Etienne,
Yes.
Ms. Abbas Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Breach. Abstain on D. Thank you. Ms. Cook,
Abstain on all.
Mr. Grillo,
Yes.
Mr. LaRocca, Mr. Remy,
Yes.
Mr. Saunders. All items carry.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Adams, may I can ask for a consent agenda?
Madam President, I ask for a consent agenda from B1 through B5.
Move it.
Roll call, please. Any comments or questions?
There's one item, may I, I'm going to change my motion. There's one item we haven't been updated on. The one personnel item.
So if there's a motion on the floor, did we get a second, Mr. Hastings?
I made the motion. I'd like to.
So why don't you withdraw the motion then?
I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay, and then if, to the extent you'd like to make a different motion, now'd be the time.
I'd like to make a motion consent, not a consent agenda, all items except for B on B4, number 6. We'll discuss, yeah. That's my motion. B4, number 6.
Who's that?
Talk about that in
No, that's administrative leave. B4, this is administrative leave.
Before, maybe it's the wrong one, Barbara.
Barbara, B46 is administrative leave. I don't know. I don't know who this is.
I'm going to, well, it hasn't been seconded, so I'm just going to make a motion consent agenda. I had an explanation.
Any additional questions or comments? Mr. Hastings, roll call.
This is all items B1 through B5. Ms. Lozinski?
Yes.
Ms. Breach? Ms. Abez Anderson?
All items, yes, I abstain on, excuse me, B2F.
Thank you. Ms. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Grillo?
Yes on all items, abstain on B2F.
Thank you. Mr. LaRocca?
Yes.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Mr. Saunders?
Yes.
Ms. Etienne?
Yes.
All items carry.
Mr. Hastings, would you like to ask for a consent agenda?
Madam President, can I'd like to separate out C3 number 8 so we can discuss it before voting.
Madam Vice President would like to, okay.
So could I have a motion for all items C1 through C5 except number 8?
Move. Second. Any questions or discussion? Mr. Hastings, roll call.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Etienne? Ms. Abez Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Breach? C514, thank you. Ms. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Grillo? Microphone, please.
Yes, and we're paying the bills, right?
Yeah, you'll abstain on the
Okay.
bills?
I need to abstain on a few ones, so abstain on
You
Horizon.
can abstain on all bills if you like, I think.
I'll abstain on all bills. How about that? I like to be exact, but that's fine.
Okay, Mr. LaRocca? Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Mr. Saunders? And Ms. Lozinski?
Yes, in all items, I'll abstain on was it B number 14?
C5.
C5, number 14.
Thank you. All items carry.
Thank you, Mr. Hastings.
Are we going to do the other item, or are we going to go into closed first?
We can do the other item. What item is it?
Okay. That's item 8 on page C3.
We'll do it after exec. So at this time, whereas the Open Public Meeting Act allows for the exclusion from discussion at the public portion of a meeting of certain matters as outlined below, and whereas the Asbury Park Board of Education wishes to discuss such matters made and will make such discussions public when a proper conclusion has been reached. Now, therefore, it be resolved that July 22nd, 2021, Asbury Park, New Jersey, for the purpose as outlined, described below, upon return, action may be taken.
And for the members of the public who are present and also virtually present, the board will be entering executive session for the purpose of a grievance hearing, to discuss personnel matters, to discuss contract matters, and to receive attorney-client advice and information. It's anticipated that the board will be in executive session for approximately 1 hour, after which time the board will return to this room and to public session and will take action. Thank you.
I'll make a
Someone
motion.
move it, please.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
I'd like to open back to public. Mr. Hastings, roll call, please.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Ms. Abez Anderson? Ms. Breach? Ms. Cook? Mr. Grillo? Mr. LaRocca? Mr. Remy?
Here.
Mr. Saunders? Ms. Lozinski? Ms. Etienne?
We do the merit goals first, Jeff. Could you read the first one for me?
Okay, so we are taking number 8 on page C3 for merit goals for 2021 school year. I need a motion to approve goal 1 for the superintendent's merit goals for 2021.
And that's the,
In conjunction with key stakeholders, we'll develop and create bi-quarterly holistic student family support newsletters.
that's the newsletter one.
That's
Okay.
the SEL newsletter.
Can I have a motion?
And that's a motion to approve, just so that we're all clear.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. LaRocca? Yes. Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Ms. Abez Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Mr. Saunders? Yes. Ms. Lozinski?
Yes.
Motion
Yep.
carries.
Number 2.
Could I have a motion for goal number 2? Goal number 2, host 6 monthly virtual parent meetings with the superintendent to ensure meetings are held specifically for our ELL population.
Motion?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Ms. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. LaRocca?
Yes.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Mr. Saunders? Ms. Lozinski?
I'm going to vote no.
No? And Ms. Abez Anderson? Motion carries.
And we have one more. There's a resolution to deny the grievance that the union, the teachers' union, filed grievance level number 4. The board is to deny that grievance. Can we have a motion?
Move it.
Deny the grievance.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Mr. LaRocca?
Yes.
Ms. Abez Anderson? Ms. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Mr. Saunders? Ms. Lozinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Anybody have anything to add? Motion to adjourn then?
Move it.
All in
Second.
favor? Opposed?
All in favor?
Thank you.